Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Ready to tackle something we all struggle with.
Oh, yeah. I think I know where this is going.
Today, we're going deep into the world of procrastination.
I can already feel the instant gratification monkey squirming.
And our guide for this journey, none other than Tim Urban and his hilarious TED Talk on the psychology of procrastination.
Oh, man. His talk is a classic. He really nails the whole procrastination struggle, but in such a funny and relatable way.
Yeah, he's got that knack for making even complex stuff easy to grasp.
Like his whole bit about the procrastinator's brain.
Oh, yeah, with the instant gratification monkey running the show.
Right. Comparing a procrastinator's brain to a non-procrastinator's.
Right.
But with that added monkey just makes it click.
It's like he's peeking right into our heads, you know?
Totally. We've all felt that pull to choose fun over responsibility.
Like that voice that's all, ooh, shiny object, must.click that link.
Instead of buckling down and doing what needs to get done.
Which is exactly what that monkey represents, right?
Yep, that impulse for instant pleasure, no matter the consequences.
And it's battling our rational decision maker, that part of us that knows what needs to happen.
It's a constant tug of war.
And honestly, sometimes that monkey is just so strong.
Well, the thing is, our brains are kind of wired for those short-term rewards.
Like back in the day, grabbing that fruit or finding shelter right now was key for survival.
Exactly. It was all about immediate needs.
But now, it's less about, will a tiger eat me?
Yeah.
And more like, will I ever finish this project?
Oh, so true.
Urban's story about his 90-page thesis really hit home for me.
A year to write it, meticulous plans, and what happens?
Ends up pulling 2 all-nighters to get it done.
Classic procrastination in action.
We set out with the best intentions, then that monkey just swoops in and throws everything off track.
And it's not even about being lazy, really.
It's that deep urge for immediate satisfaction, like right now.
Like when you should be working on a presentation.
But that suddenly organizing your spice rack seems incredibly urgent.
Right. And Urban is full of those relatable examples.
Oh, tell me about it. Those Wikipedia black holes.
You start researching one thing, and hours later, you're clicking on random links about medieval cheese-making techniques.
Or those times you're watching cat videos instead of actually doing work.
It's almost like we end up in this dark playground, as Urban calls it.
The land of procrastination.
And it's funny because in the dark playground, we're doing stuff that should be enjoyable, like watching videos or playing games.
But there's this underlying current of guilt and anxiety.
Because deep down, we know we should be doing something else.
So it's not even truly relaxing.
Exactly. There's always that nagging feeling.
And a lot of times it's driven by fear, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Fear of failure or just the discomfort of the task itself.
But here's the thing. The dark playground doesn't last forever.
Thankfully. Because then comes the panic monster.
Oh, yeah. This is where things get interesting.
This panic monster is like the procrastinator's last-minute savior.
It's that surge of adrenaline when the deadline is breathing down your neck.
And suddenly, that project you've been avoiding becomes the only thing that matters.
The monkey runs and hides. The rational decision maker takes charge.
It's chaotic, but it gets the job done.
And Urban's story about prepping for his own TED Talk while procrastinating was just priceless.
Talk about meta.
The monkey takes over. Panic monster swoops in to save the day. Again.
It's that last-minute pressure, as stressful as it is, that can be a huge motivator.
But Urban points out a key difference. Deadline-driven procrastination versus procrastination without deadlines.
And that's where things get even trickier.
We're talking about things like pursuing a passion project, improving our health, making big life decisions.
The stuff that matters but doesn't have a set deadline.
So no panic monster to come to our rescue.
Exactly. Without that external pressure, it's easy to let things slide indefinitely.
We tell ourselves, oh, I'll get to it someday.
But that someday never seems to arrive.
Which is where Urban's life calendar comes in.
Yes, that powerful visual.
A 90-year lifespan, broken down into weeks.
It really hits you. We have limited time.
And it makes you confront what you're choosing to prioritize.
And what you're letting slip away.
So recognizing that monkey's influence and taking action, even baby steps, is crucial.
It's about overcoming procrastination and living a more fulfilling life.
Which brings us to the next part of our deep dive. Figuring out how to actually tackle it.
Sounds like a plan. Let's dive in. Okay, so we've talked about the problem. That instant gratification monkey always messing things up.
But I'm ready for solutions. How do we outsmart that little guy? Especially for those things without those looming deadlines.
Well, the good news is there are techniques we can use.
Tell me everything. Urban's talk was funny, but it also made me realize I'm missing out because of procrastination.
One of the best strategies is breaking down big tasks into smaller, manageable chunks.
That makes sense. It's less overwhelming that way.
Instead of this huge, daunting project.
It becomes a series of smaller, doable steps.
Exactly. Like, I can handle writing 1 page.
But writing a whole book? No way.
And by focusing on those smaller steps.
We're kind of tricking the monkey, right?
Exactly. It doesn't feel as intimidating, so the urge for instant gratification isn't as strong.
It's like instead of climbing Mount Everest all at once,
You focus on getting to base camp first.
then maybe the next camp and so on.
I like that analogy.
And each step gives you that feeling of accomplishment.
Which motivates you to keep going. It's a positive cycle.
So we're training ourselves to see progress instead of just this giant obstacle.
You got it.
Okay, that makes sense for big projects,
But what about those things that just don't have a deadline?
like learning a new language or finally cleaning out the garage.
That's where creating artificial deadlines comes in.
Wait, so we make up deadlines even if there aren't any.
Yep, we can leverage the power of the panic monster, even without external pressure.
So we trick ourselves into thinking there's a deadline to get stuff done,
You got it. Schedule specific times for that task.
like actually putting it in my calendar.
Exactly. Or tell a friend about your goal so you feel accountable.
Because if I don't set those boundaries, that monkey's going to win every time.
It's all about structure and accountability. Even setting little deadlines throughout the week can help.
This is giving me hope. Maybe I can actually tackle those things I've been putting off.
Don't forget about rewards. This is where we can work with the monkey.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
Promise yourself small rewards after completing some work.
Okay, so like, finished a chapter. Time for ice cream.
Exactly. Or cleaned out that junk drawer. Movie night.
So it's like we're making a deal with the monkey.
Hey, if you let me focus for a bit, I'll give you something fun later.
We're actually training ourselves to connect work with positive feelings.
It's a win-win situation.
This is making so much sense. But even with all these strategies, there will be days when the monkey wins. Like we fall back into old habits. I know what you mean, like you've got your plan, you're feeling good.
Then boom, right back to procrastinating.
It can be so frustrating.
It happens. It's not about being perfect.
Yeah, we're not aiming to never procrastinate again.
That's just setting ourselves up for failure.
So maybe instead of beating ourselves up for slipping up,
We should try to understand why it happened.
like what got in the way this time?
Exactly. Ask yourself, was I tired? Stressed? Did I take on too much?
It's like being a detective of your own bad habits.
And once you know the why, you can come up with better strategies.
So instead of seeing it as a personal failing,
It becomes valuable information.
like, okay, maybe I binge watched a show instead of working on that project.
But maybe you were exhausted and needed a break.
And next time I might recognize those signs of burnout earlier.
And actually schedule some downtime before hitting that procrastination wall.
Sometimes procrastination might even be a sign we need to reevaluate.
Our priorities, for sure.
Like maybe we're taking on too much or we're not really passionate about something.
It's okay to say no to things.
Or delegate if we can.
You don't have to do it all.
It's about focusing our energy where it truly matters.
And you know what can help with that?
Mindfulness.
Mindfulness. For procrastination. Yeah. It's all about being present in the moment, aware of your thoughts and feelings.
Without judgment.
Right, when we apply that to procrastination.
It helps us become more aware of those urges and impulses.
What the things that make us put things off.
So instead of mindlessly giving in to the monkey,
We take a moment to notice what's happening in our minds.
we start to recognize those thoughts like, this is too hard or I don't want to do this.
And just by observing them,
We create a little space between the thought and our reaction.
we hit the pause button on that automatic give-in response.
And in that pause, we can make a different choice.
Exactly. It gives us the power to choose.
This is all great,
Yeah.
but I think a lot of people get stuck on the how part.
Like they understand procrastination and want to change, but don't know where to start.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Where do we find practical tips and resources?
Well, Tim Urban himself has a whole website dedicated to this.
Wait.
But why?
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
It's got articles, blog posts, even a procrastination flowchart.
Love a good flowchart.
It helps you figure out what's really going on when you procrastinate.
And beyond that.
Tons of books and podcasts on productivity and time management.
Like what? Give me some recommendations.
There's the classic Getting Things Done by David Allen.
Heard of that one? I'll check it out.
It's about creating systems to organize and prioritize your tasks.
What about podcasts? Any favorites?
Oh, so many.
Yeah.
The Productivityist podcast by Mike Vardy is fantastic.
Okay, adding that to my list.
He covers all sorts of topics about getting things done and interviews some really interesting people.
It's nice to know we're not alone in this.
Definitely not. There's a whole community out there figuring this stuff out.
We're all battling our own instant gratification monkeys.
Exactly. And there are tons of resources and support systems available.
It's about finding what works for you,
Experiment, be patient with yourself, and celebrate every victory.
even if it's just finishing that one small task you've been putting off.
Every step counts.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into procrastination,
What are our key takeaways?
first, procrastination is human, not a flaw. Be kind to yourself.
Absolutely.
Second, understand your own patterns and develop strategies to overcome them.
Know yourself. Know your monkey.
And finally, take action. Even small steps make a difference.
Pick one thing you've been putting off and make a plan to tackle it.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into procrastination.
Hope you found it insightful, relatable, and maybe even a little motivating.
See you next time on The Deep Dive.